No,
do it.
they're
The
not
meeting,
ready.
they weren't done.
Oh, good. Okay,
I
good.
got-
So I'm not
I
missing
don't
anything.
have completely overloaded.
You know, it's weird because I got an email saying that they'd be following shortly, but I guess maybe that was false.
We good?
It was.
Okay.
All right, somebody,
I move that we open the Groveland Conservation Commission meeting for May 11, 2022 at 7:05.
Second,
all in favor?
Aye.
Oh, yes. Okay, so from now on, we're gonna have to take roll call votes because we have a remote member.
really?
Yes,
Heads on the phone.
that's the rules. The rules.
Wow. Okay.
He's gonna have to bring rhubarb next time.
Minutes. Where do you want to start?
All right, so we're going down to the other items.
Number 11?
Number one, the approval of the minutes from our last meeting. The minutes aren't quite done yet, so we're gonna put that off. So, motion to table the approval of the minutes.
Second,
Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll take a vote. All in favor of
roll call.
tabling?
Roll call on these?
Oh, yes, right. All right.
We're sticklers for things here.
Yes, yes, yes. Terry,
aye.
Tom,
Aye.
John,
C.
Stephanie,
Not
Yep.
doing that again.
Mike, yes, and Fred.
I mean, not to, I'll do it.
You really,
Oh, he's
only the first two
abstaining.
times,
I only did it once, I think.
twice.
Ah, jeez.
All right, you
Really,
got that
I
right.
got a little dig there.
All
I
right.
don't think so.
The next item, number 2, is 142 King Street, discussion regarding the erosion controls. So, let me get it up on the screen
I
here.
think I took one note. Just one? I don't think I did.
Yeah, it's that bottom one. May Concom. Oh, okay. Oh, I sent them to you separately? Yeah, I put them in the PowerPoint
Yeah.
Yeah,
as
but
well, but,
this is not in there, I don't think.
oh.
So, Annie, can you read this letter into the minutes?
Yep. You're Mrs. Schindler. It's just Miss.
Do we know something?
It's okay.
Does he know something we don't know?
No.
Congratulations.
No. It's fine. Per the board's site walk on Saturday, April 16th, 2022, to review erosion control measures identified in the plans by Hancock Associates revised September 17th, 2020. We are herein submitting the initial plans Exhibit A and a modification plan Exhibit B for erosion control measures. We are requesting to utilize 2 erosion control products to maintain the site. The first product is the straw wattle identified in the approved permit. The second product is silt fence. The straw wattle will be utilized at all down gradient locations to construction. The silt fence will be utilized at all up gradient locations to construction. The erosion control perimeter is unchanged and will remain per the approved permit. Included with this letter are Exhibit A showing the highlighted straw wattle erosion control measures in red, Exhibit B showing the highlighted, Exhibit B showing the proposed straw wattle in the red and the proposed silt fence in blue. If you have any questions or need additional information, please contact so on and so forth.
Quick call.
Okay, so let me get up the PowerPoint.
Fancy.
Okay, and let me just share the screen for Fred. Okay, yes. All right. Let me see here, better let me display that. All right.
So that's the original one,
So that's the original one.
completely,
Straw wattle's all in red.
yep. We had a pointer at some point.
I was just gonna, here you go.
Thanks, Mrs. Schindler.
You can actually thank John.
So this is the proposed one, so from our site walk on the 16th, there was, what we talked about is anything down gradient, which is what I'm identifying in red, would be the straw wattle, and anything up gradient would be the silt fence, and that's identified in blue. So as you can see, the main walkway in, down gradient side is on the left, and that's all the straw wattle. And then up gradient side, which is also next to a stone wall,
fence,
which isn't
yeah.
shown, but that's in blue. Transitioning into the bulk of the property, the wetland is in this area, and the straw wattle is actually on the down gradient side of the drive, and so we're just maintaining that as we go around. And this is the up gradient side, it's treed, and then transition kind of goes down into an opening, and then comes up into where the house lot is, so it flip-flops a little bit. This is down gradient, there's some residences here and here, and then this transitions again to a wetland up in here, so you have the straw wattle that's on the down gradient side, and the silt fence is on that up gradient side.
So on that wetland in the middle, there's like a swale that causes that to become an upgrade?
Yeah, well, I mean, it kind of transitions, so this is relatively flat, but this area does go to the well.
Right,
And
but
then-
that blue area, at that point, there's like a bank?
Yep, so,
Okay.
yep, this transitions up.
I thought that's what I remember.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, it was at least a 3-foot height.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Thing there,
I
yeah.
mean, it just seems unusual, there'd be a wetland right there.
Yeah, yeah.
But that would be an uphill,
Yep.
but,
Yeah, it's-
but that's because
It's
somebody
because
moved
it's
something
getting-
there.
It's getting water from this side
Right,
and this side, and this is actually transitioning, it's getting water to this wetland out in the
Yep.
wildlife
Yeah.
management area.
Yep.
And then this goes down gradient to Pheasant.
No, it all makes sense, all makes sense.
Okay, so, somehow, I'm not sure what went wrong, but, work was already started on the site. And I don't believe there was a permission to do that, and we didn't have a pre-construction meeting, right?
That is correct, that's on me.
So what happened?
There was a miscommunication with my forester. He had an opening, he wanted to bring some equipment over. I took that as just wanted to bring some equipment over. He took it as getting some trees and starting to take everything down. So, that's on me, that's not on him.
And so, I had one resident email from Pheasant Lane and another come into the office asking about work taking place back there.
So there's a pad that I had installed.
Yes, the riprap.
At the entrance.
Yep.
And that's erosion control. It's not on the plan, but it's, I don't know why, but it's a really good idea.
Mhm.
It keeps the mud on the site and any tracking.
Yep.
to keep it up from off the site. So that was installed, and then this work was done.
Okay, they were from Pheasant Lane, they didn't say where they were on Pheasant Lane, so I wasn't sure if they were closer to the street or if there was something happening further back, cause the houses go pretty far to the back of the lot, so I just wanted to make sure that this was the only portion. I wasn't able to walk the entire distance before, I just wanted to make sure they were talking about one instance, because they came in a week and a half apart, the two residents, so I just wanted to make sure it was just one instance of this tree cutting. Okay.
How many days' work was this?
I don't know. I don't know, it's worth
2, 3?
a couple. I didn't know that they were doing anything. Andy called me. I came up to the site, stopped them, so.
All right, so I'm assuming probably one day to put down the riprap and another day to start cutting the trees, right? Let's assume that.
If we're speculating, that's as good as anything, right?
Yes. So what does the commission want to do about this? We can do a fine at $300 a day for 2 days. Or we could charge, at least minimally, charge a compliance inspection fee. It doesn't really fit in there, but, you know, Annie was required to go out there and take these photos. So an inspection fee would be $100. So what is the commission's pleasure?
When was the work done? Do we have a date, roughly?
It was about, what, 2 weeks ago?
It was 2 weeks ago that I went out there.
Before or after April 15th? That's what I'm getting at.
Oh, it was
Oh,
after.
After.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many times did you have to address this compliance issue?
Once.
Once took care of everything?
It was one email to Matt before he said that it has been stopped.
Right, but, supporting that, you had to deal with abutters, you had to go out and do an inspection.
Yes, I will say, the first abutter went through the building inspector. They were looking for Rebecca, the
Yeah.
former town planner.
Yeah.
And it got directed over to, so it got directed over to me. That was solely for town planning purposes. It's hard when people come into the office now.
Sure,
because
sure,
it's
sure,
difficult
sure,
to Identify.
Yep.
Um,
I'm looking at this as 3 compliance events that had to be addressed, as opposed to just one. I don't like the idea of a $600 fine, but I like the idea of $300 in fees.
Okay, so that's what your thought
That's my
is.
proposal.
Okay,
There's 6 of us.
yeah, no, I know. So what does anyone else think?
How do you come to that figure? Sorry?
There were 3 events that needed to be addressed.
2 people stopped by, and then she had to go out there and take pictures, I believe.
And
Is
even
that
if
what you're
he
talking
went
about,
to
the three?
even if he went to oh, come on,
Building inspector?
the inspector, thank you. John likes to watch me swing in the breeze.
I just saved you.
That eventually ended up in your lap. So, you know, I'm interpreting it pretty liberally. If you guys want to say it's 2 compliance events, then that's
Well, only
reasonable too.
one-
There's 6 of us. We can come up with a consensus, right?
I'm with Terry. I think that the $600 is excessive. But I could be swayed on anywhere between 100 and 300.
Yeah, well, the difference is we're not fining, we're deciding, which I think would fit, because it isn't like this was done in a vacuum, you know. I think, obviously, there was a misunderstanding about it, and we had already had a meeting about it, so it isn't like it just came out of nowhere. So I think to charge a fee makes more sense, and really, it's just a matter of how much of the fee do we want to charge.
It sounded like during the site walk,
The difference plus the inspection fee.
Yep.
during the site walk, it sounded like you weren't expecting him before June or July.
All right.
He has broken equipment, so, yeah, as far as I know, he was just moving some stuff around.
Yeah. So it's hard to get too upset, but it's also, we're not doing our
100.
duty if we don't take some action.
what was that, Fred?
I said probably 400, 300 plus the inspection fee. We'll split the difference on the day.
Oh, you're saying,
$300.
$300 fine plus the inspection fee.
No, I don't like that.
Yes. See, there's a miscommunication. We'll bat it halfway. Inspection fee stays.
That's what Fred says.
Okay, there's 6 of us.
All right, well, you can make a motion, Terry, and we can vote on it. And then if that doesn't pass, we can-
I'd like to, my motion is going to be either 200 or 300, and I'd like to have a motion that passes, and I'd like to have that number before I make the motion.
I
So
would
one,
support
so one
300.
one
I would
inspection,
support it, 300 as well.
one
Okay.
inspection happened with Annie?
Correct.
And then there were 2
There,
events.
yes, but I mean,
Don't sell yourself short, young lady. I
I
make a motion that we assess $300 in fees for this, and that we remind that there needs to be, the next time this starts up, we got to be involved. Is that true, or are we happy now?
Yeah, no, I mean.
The reminder's not part of the motion, by
There
the way.
needs to be a pre-construction meeting.
Okay, that still needs to happen. This is
Right.
not a pre-construction meeting.
Right.
Okay. So, I'm done with my motion.
All right, is there a second on
I
that?
second that.
Okay, any further discussion on that? So we're assessing $300 in inspection fees, basically, due to the multiple phone calls and dealing with the issues here. All right. All in favor of the,
Nope, aye.
Roll call.
oh, yes. Terry. Terry, yes.
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Stephanie,
Aye.
Mike, yes. Fred?
The remote agent says aye.
Okay. All right, so unanimous, passes. So there'll be a $300 fee that you can, just write us a check, Town of Groveland, before, and schedule the pre-construction meeting.
So you send me an email
Sure.
with stuff in it, I'll send you back a package that addresses all those items. And then is it combined planning and conservation kickoff?
yes, I mean, it doesn't, it makes sense for it to,
Doesn't have to be.
it doesn't
but-
have to be,
I just, whatever makes sense, so.
yeah, it saves you a trip, saves me a trip.
Okay, and what about the erosion control stuff, is that in place before
Oh,
we have to
we have
kick
to-
off, or is-
We gotta vote
We're gonna vote on that.
Okay.
We're gonna do that right now, so.
It,
I
it does
believe.
need to be in place.
All right.
Before they kick off.
There's been.
There's been a lot of back
there's
and
been a lot
forth
of
on
back and
that.
forth and discussion
Okay.
on it, so I just wanna.
I defer. I've missed the last two meetings.
And the sidewalk.
I've been trying to just
Sidewalk.
be clear and open all the way.
Yeah,
through.
no,
So-
no.
No, you have-
Yep, I apologize.
All right, so, who wants to make a motion on the change to the erosion controls? Basically to accept the plan as submitted, substituting what's in the.
I'll make
orders
that
of
motion.
condition.
Sorry to interrupt, do we also wanna discuss when the erosion controls need to be placed, because I know,
Like, that's part of the
okay,
motion,
okay,
Let's do that as part of the discussion then.
discussion in the motion, yeah.
okay, I just wasn't sure if you were
Nope.
doing it combined or separate.
Nope.
All right, so the is there a second on that?
Was there a motion?
Yeah, he
I
moved.
move, but I think we're having discussion as to the timing of them. Are we including them all in the same motion?
Yeah, I mean, you can make the motion, we'll have the discussion, and then you can make an amendment as far as the timing is concerned.
I think we should just do it all at the same motion.
All right,
If that's
we
okay.
can, all right. All right, so what are people's thoughts? So first of all,
I'll second the motion, by the way.
he withdrew his motion.
Oh, okay. Well, then we need a motion.
Well,
We're talking about
We're
the,
having general
timing.
discussion on
Okay.
it right now. So, is everyone happy, or does anyone have any other desires regarding the proposal to change to the straw wattle and the silt fence as opposed to being surrounded by the whole straw wattle? I mean, I think from our discussion in the field, everybody was pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I think, it doesn't make sense to impose an undue burden when the fence ought to be, where the silt sock ought to be fine.
Well, remember, as I mentioned in the field, that wasn't our requirement. We never
I
said that.
understand, I understand. Yeah, so, yeah, I think we all pretty much, walking over, felt that it was a reasonable approach to erosion control, and we're not in this to cost people more money than needs to be done to do the job right, and that should do the job right.
Okay, all right. So as far as the timing now, the applicant is thinking that he'd prefer not to put the erosion controls in until the trees are taken down. I don't know what people think about that. You know, my opinion is they should be there, but I don't know what everybody else thinks.
Will you be able to have the erosion control materials on site, ready to go as soon as trees have been dragged out?
I've already started with the erosion control,
Okay.
The wattle's already there.
And,
your chairman saw me with 2 pallets of wattles in the back of the pickup.
got it. So, is it possible, I guess you're gonna have to clear from the road all the way to the back rather than start from the back and move to the
I gotta talk
road?
to him because he's got some tall trees that he's concerned about bringing down, so he needs more space for them, so what I've talked to him about is like, as he clears an area. I'm
Move
just
in the
gonna
erosion
start-
control. All right, that's,
I'm not gonna wait for him to finish the entire thing, but I'm just,
That-
once he's out of an area, you know, I'll put in a couple hundred feet as he moves.
you probably know you're telling me what I wanna hear, right?
How long is he gonna be on site, do you know? Estimate, like,
Week or so.
okay, so,
We're bifurcating what he's gonna do, because you guys have concerns about erosion control. So what we've talked about is, he comes in, he brings down the trees, he's gonna move them all up into the back open area. And then erosion control will do stumping, so I'm not disturbing any earth until erosion controls are in. But because he's moving everything up in the back, I have to stump it and start getting some earthwork in the front so we can
Right.
turn around and pull all that stuff out.
right.
So the thought was, is he'll do some work for about a week, and then he's gonna leave the site for about a month, and then he'll come back in once we have all that earthwork straightened out
And a reasonable driveway in at that point,
Yeah.
and then,
Right,
so it's
exactly.
not.
And then he's gonna mill near King Street?
Yeah, well,
Ish.
ish, yeah, so.
Ish is good enough. All right. I mean, that sounds reasonable to me.
I think you should make the motion.
No, well, the
No, Mike wants to talk
concern,
more.
the concern that I have is down here at the bottom. You know, because it's certainly dry now, but if we get a good rainstorm, everything's coming down that hill, and with trucks going in and out of there, I mean, the riprap is there, so that's gonna help. But I'm still concerned about that lower part. So what I'd like to see is at least the wattle put in for this bottom portion.
How far, Mike?
I would say, you know, up to where that line is.
To the turn?
Yeah, before the turn.
On the downhill side?
Yeah, yeah,
Just the downhill side?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And you're saying absolutely no work until that gets in? Is that your thought?
Yeah,
And the trees, the crowns of the trees...
he's got the stuff there,
The
so,
crowns of trees you're worried about, or he's worried about, ripping it up, are
So
those mostly trees that are not in that area, or?
there's-
The big ones, it seems to me, were right in the middle, right?
Yeah, the big ones are up
Monsters.
through here.
Yeah.
In this area, there's one that's leaning, which he needs that big thing to move around. And then there's a bunch of pines, so they don't have a whole lot of,
Crown.
crown.
Yeah.
They're just tall, so.
Yeah.
I
Well,
guess-
presumably you can limb them when it comes down.
They don't do that.
Comes down,
Yeah.
yeah, he limbs it up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, we can have all that in, that's fine.
what's that distance up to that line roughly?
Which one?
From the street up to that line where, just before the curve, yeah.
This is 500 feet.
500?
Yep.
Okay, so for the first 500 feet,
Straw wattle on the downward side.
yeah, yeah.
Prior to doing,
to lumberjacking.
And the rest can go in.
he's get,
As
as,
those
he-
areas
as the
are
work
cleared.
is, as the work is cleared, he'll put them in. Does that work for you?
That's what he offered.
So how do you want to have, do you want that kickoff meeting? and
Yeah,
Have that in, or do you
yeah,
want to
that
come
should
out
be
and
in-
see that, and then,
That should be in at the pre-construction
Yeah,
meeting.
you can put the straw the
Straw
this-
wattle.
this-
Yeah.
the straw wattle in up to that point. before the pre-construction meeting, and that's what I'll inspect for.
There's a lot of like down stuff in there. Are you guys okay if I bring like a skid steer on and just kind of pull that stuff away so I can get this stuff in there and not have to?
Yeah, I mean, the idea is we're allowing you to do whatever it's gonna take to put that erosion control in.
You're not excavating, you're just,
I just, there's a
pulling.
lot of junk on
Yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah.
So I was gonna
Sure.
bring in a skid steer, just pull it back, and I'll have it in, and then you guys can come out. I just don't want anybody to call and say, doing something.
Well,
and then-
they may, but that's,
They will,
that's included
But
in the,
but I know about it.
as long as we
which is
know
what
about it,
helps.
right?
It's
That
fine.
part there's not a lot of neighbors, is there, on that
Well, that
straightaway?
doesn't-
I have one neighbor on the left, and then there's, in the front, there's two.
well, it doesn't matter, people are driving right by that driveway entrance, they're gonna see it.
Come and tell me that, that it's a public property and I can't be doing anything on it.
Cool.
Yeah,
Wow.
no, but that's typical when you start doing stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna move that we accept the Exhibit B modified plan with the first 500 feet of straw on the downside to be installed prior to the pre-construction meeting, and the rest to be installed in sections as soon as is reasonably appropriate. Is that fair to you?
I'll get-
Does
Second,
that sound good, you guys?
Yep.
All right,
Yeah,
Tom seconded.
second it.
Okay, all right. Any other further discussion? Everybody understands what we're allowing here?
I think we beat that one to death.
Yes, well,
Need to.
all right, Terry,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
John,
aye.
Stephanie,
Aye.
Fred,
Aye.
thank you. Mike, yes, unanimous. All right, so you are all set. Thank you.
Thank
You
you.
want some rhubarb before you go?
Well, thank you.
It's 10 minutes old.
With that, so you get a nice pie.
I know, the strawberries, Terry, you left those out.
I don't grow those.
Good night.
Thank you.
Don't
Have a good
grow,
night.
don't grow strawberries.
No, they're too hard. Rhubarb's a weed.
Are we gonna do the hearing portion of?
Yes, so I'll make a motion to open the hearing portion of the meeting at 7:33 PM.
Second.
Terry,
Uh-oh.
Terry, yes?
Oh, yes.
Tom,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Aye.
Mike, yes, and Fred.
Aye.
All right. Unanimous. All right, let me see where we're at on this thing. Yes, shut this off.
Should be the first one.
Yes.
Had a brain on my shoulder when I did it.
All right.
6 Merrimack River Road, right?
Yep.
This is tree removal. All right. So you're going to tell us about this one, right?
Yes, the
That-
applicant is also here.
Oh, okay. Hi.
Writer of the letter.
Yes. I will just give a quick overview since the applicant is here, but essentially, as you can see on the left, there is a tree falling towards the house, away from the Merrimack River. The applicant would like to have it removed. And then when we spoke, did you decide to go for the second tree as well?
I did, I'll fill you on what
Yeah.
happened from Northern.
Then I'm gonna pass it on over to the applicant. They've since spoken to a tree company, so.
I would, real quick. Thank you, that's fine, listen to me. I'm requesting.
If I need it. I'm requesting permission to cut down 2 trees with my only intention and my only goal is to just preserve as much shore and bank as possible. One is more pressing than the other. The tree on the left, the one falling towards us, was a storm-damaged tree that is at a 45. It's hung up on some other trees right now. For the time being, it will continue to fall with higher winds and more storms. The other tree leaning out is not as imminent right now, but talking to Kevin from Northern Tree, he came out yesterday, actually. We spent a good deal of time down there. The tree hanging out over the river, he said we should wait on that one. He said because the time of year, he wants to have minimal damage and interruption to any kind of soil, anything at all down by the water. So he proposed the tree that's coming towards the shore. We cut it at the base, and then we push that whole root ball back down. That will preserve as much shore as possible, and that was what I was thinking as well. Cut that, push that root ball down.
Leave the stump a couple
Leave the
feet.
stump, exactly, and that should prevent any more. If we don't do anything and it continues to fall, it's gonna keep ripping up more roots, which will create more erosion. Because it's this time of year, he was very hesitant to bring any kind of equipment at all down by the water, not only for my lawn, but to just create more damage and more, just more of a mess down there, essentially. So he recommended cut that tree. He'll cut it up for me and leave it. And then he is going to try to come back in the wintertime when the ground is frozen, when the river is frozen, he can haul everything back up without creating any damage to the land down there. And at that same time, he can cut the tree that's hanging out over there because the river will be frozen. He'll come out while it is frozen so he can pull it back up. He was afraid if he cuts that now, any time of year while there's water there, it might drag some of the soil and create more problems. So he wasn't comfortable, which I appreciated as well. So do that when it's frozen, and he can haul them both up at the same time when the ground is frozen, create the least amount of impact as possible to the whole area. So that's what I'm asking
That's
for.
what you want. I don't think the river freezes much.
It does every year. I've been there 10 years, and I think there's 1 year it didn't. On this side it does. The channel's on the other side.
Yeah.
So on this side, almost every year it's frozen pretty solid. I mean, I wouldn't walk on it obviously, but it's solid enough where you could drag a tree on it.
Solid enough for a tree, but you wouldn't walk on it?
Well, because it's moving, it's a moving water need, so I wouldn't trust it, you know what I mean? But it's thick. I mean, I see how thick the water is where.
Yeah, I think that's gonna break through any ice. Yeah, I mean, that puts us into the seasonal restriction.
Yeah, but we can,
I think actually it would probably be better when it's low tide in the summer, where's the shoreline there? How far out?
At low tide, it goes out at least 15, 20 feet from the base of that tree.
Yeah. And when we haven't had rain for 6 weeks or whatever, it's
Right.
probably even further.
Yep.
I don't want to override his expertise, but I think it might actually be better pulling it out when the water's low and,
Okay.
and the ground all around is drier.
Yep.
But that's just one man's opinion.
I guess his concern was he could cut it, but then getting it back up, he would need some kind of equipment. And he's reluctant to bring any equipment down there this time of year while the ground is.
Right, I'm not saying this time of year.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
talking about like July, August,
Okay.
when you're wishing you had irrigation for your lawn.
Right.
And, and it's a lot drier.
So Terry, do you want him to cut the one tree now and then just leave it there and then go out at a point when it's dry to take the other one out, or what do you want to do?
Well,
Be nice to get
how
this.
imminent is the tree that's leaning, the widowmaker? How that's not likely to fall much more, is it? How?
One hanging out over the water.
Yeah. No. The one, the
On the left.
widowmaker, the one hung up in
The one on the left.
Yeah.
That's pretty imminent because it's
Oh, it's still settling?
still settling.
Oh,
It's,
okay.
That's
All right.
only been a few weeks and it's settling a little more.
Okay, all right, so you
It
probably
was-
want to get that out.
With all that weight on it, it's gonna.
Yeah,
going.
it's not hooked on a very strong branch.
Okay,
on
that's
the-
what I can't see from here,
Like
so,
here, it's not hooked on much.
got it. So it's just slowly working its way down.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. But he doesn't mind driving up, well, I guess he doesn't need to drive up.
He's just gonna bring
He's
guys
just
in
gonna leave
trees.
it
He can
there.
just cut it. He doesn't need any equipment. He said he can just cut it down, cut it up and just leave it,
Yeah,
haul it up in the winter.
yeah. Because he's got cranes and stuff.
Right.
And,
Suppose you can't use a crane to pull it out. I mean,
Might be far away.
well, I
from-
don't think he wants to take the crane down in the muddy,
Yeah, that-
you know,
they're heavy,
until
too. I know
things
that,
dry
right?
out a
It's
little
like-
bit.
yeah.
I mean, it just makes sense.
Yep.
all right, so you want them to drop the tree now, and then cut it up, allow that, and then you want them to, within reason as to when it's a dry period to take
My,
care of
my,
the
fe-
second.
my feeling is hauling out the one that's leaning over the river when the water's lower and the banks are dry, it makes more sense than, doing it during the seasonal restriction, when who knows what it's gonna be like.
When is the season restriction for Williams?
November, 1st,
Till,
April
April
15th.
15th.
okay.
Do we want to, so I'm thinking, so the one on the left, he should cut as quick as reasonable to get the stump back down, and hopefully something grows there and gets established during the summer.
Or at least it's not lifted up, so if there's high water, it's gonna
Right.
erode all that dirt ball from there.
And then the tree leaning over, do we want to tell him, do it whenever is most appropriate, but do we want to put like an end date? My fear was saying like December 1st or January 1st is the river's probably not frozen then if he really wants to do it when
No,
it's frozen.
well, and I hate to say this, but I don't think I've ever seen the river where the ice has been thick enough that it would support what is that, about a 14-inch, 16-inch diameter tree?
I don't know. They had people walking out on the middle of the
Okay,
freaking,
people weighing
river
maybe
last year, just
250
down
pounds.
the river from them. Yeah.
I mean, this is a 3 or 4
So-
ton tree.
So it goes back to, do we tell him it's got to be out by, pick a date, November 1st, December 1st, January?
Well, if we say November 1st, you know, or October 31st,
Yeah.
that's probably appropriate, because then if for some reason they want to continue to wait, they're going to have to come in for a seasonal waiver.
I mean, I think we should leave that as an option in case it really doesn't
It's
dry
always
out.
an option.
But I don't think anything's gonna be frozen in November.
I don't
mean,
know.
That's what I
But I
mean.
don't
Yeah,
think-
I mean, I
He
think
would
it's,
have to go out
he's
in
trying to avoid
February.
damage to the whole, pulling a tree up onto the shoreline is gonna damage the,
Right.
Yeah, but-
that's
Yeah.
I don't
why
think the ice is gonna protect it, I'm sorry.
yeah.
Well, no, but the ground will be frozen for the heavy equipment that has to go down there to pull the stuff out too.
No, he's got like a crane, and he'll just loop a cable around it and yank it from 50 feet away.
I know, but if it's riverside, shoreline, I mean, I think the concern is that they'll trash the shoreline, right?
Well, as long as it's dry.
Yeah, and that's why I think if you're in a summer drought, that's a better time.
That's what we're planning on.
I mean, that's just my feeling. Again, I'm not an expert.
I mean, we could leave that as an option and then still say, you know, if that doesn't work out, then we'll see you Martin Luther King weekend when it's always the coldest time of the year. I don't know.
Right. I think his concern was anytime you it's not frozen, his equipment, even his crane, it's heavy enough where he's afraid to damage anything
Right.
down in that general area, within that.
Right. I don't think he's gonna be anywhere near it, though, quite frankly. I mean, he's the expert, I'm not, but
Have you thought, I mean, again, I don't know, I've never cut a tree down the river, even if, say, the ice is a foot thick on that section, because it piles up, you have the high tide, low tide, it gets, I see the chunks, they're really thick. Whether it can support or not, I think if it falls, I don't think it would crash through and hit the bottom. The ice would stop it where it's still.
you think it'll shield it, blanket it a little bit.
Exactly.
And then
where it's still
slide it
there,
up.
and you could pull it
Right.
up and could have minimal damage. to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, how about we suggest looking into summertime, and then summertime just pop in here,
Okay.
and we'll,
I'll talk to Kevin. and see
we'll do an
what's up
update.
there.
Yeah,
I mean, I assume he's done this before and that's why he's suggesting it this way.
maybe.
Cause I thought summer too, I thought, oh, summer, pull it up, it's water, it's buoyant, you can float it out, he said, no, I think wintertime, it's frozen, I'll pull it out much easier.
Right.
So are we going to request a seasonal restriction waiver if we tell him to do it in the winter?
Well, if in the summertime, yeah. But I'm saying, let's shoot for, if it makes sense to get it done by October 31st, presumably July,
That's-
August,
That's the preference.
then it's all done,
Right.
and there's nothing more that needs to be done. If come October 31st, Plan B is
What I'm getting at is, are we going to look for a fee?
a waiver fee?
Yeah, because then there may be,
Absolutely.
to your advantage to convince him to take it out before then.
What,
What's the fee?
yeah, what is the fee now? What's our new schedule here? I mean, it's not excavation.
Right.
What is it, 250?
I believe so, sorry, I didn't have it up. It's loading, I swear.
Mike says, paper's faster.
100 for roofing, siding, etc. Excavation, foundation, grading, 200, and then it's septics.
So it's not really a,
Not that big of a deal.
yeah, I mean, I would go with the lowest number.
My feeling is if the homeowner does nothing, we're not gonna fine him and it would make more of a mess. So why would we ask for a fee when he's trying to do the right thing?
We're trying to get away from doing waiver of fees, because we're being really loosey-goosey on fees.
completely
It's nothing having to
arbitrary.
do.
And we're
yeah.
also
Try not
trying to
to be
get away from
arbitrary anymore.
waivers in
Nothing-
general.
Nothing having to do with you, we were.
Right, no, and I get that. I guess my point is the homeowner could do nothing and it's probably gonna be worse.
Right, but if they decide to cut it down in the summer, then there's no fee. So,
Okay, so we
Problem
should tell,
solved.
so the
and it's
motion.
only a $100 penalty for doing the winter thing, which is not huge number.
So our motion is basically to allow him to cut down the one tree now and then leave it to sit there until such time as he is able to remove it. And we prefer him to remove the second tree in the summertime prior to the seasonal restriction. That
Yeah.
if it makes sense for him to remove it during the winter time, then we're charging him $100. as
My
a
feeling is
additional
if
fee.
it's dry enough to take out that tree, in the summertime when he cuts
Yeah.
it up, then there's a good chance it's gonna be dry enough to get the equipment close enough. And again, these are big old cranes. There was a crane on, School Street earlier this week that was just down the road from you. It's like 100 feet tall, 120
Yeah.
feet. You could be a long way away.
But the crane itself too, even coming from down the whole yard, if the ground, if it's too soft.
If it's dry.
Right, if it's too
No.
soft at all, it'll destroy the whole yard all the way down.
Right.
It does,
That's why
yeah.
it's like-
Those things weigh a
like
freaking
if it's
ton.
Right.
Yes, they do.
A month where it's frozen solid, you'll
Yeah.
have no damage to the yard or anything. I guess
Right.
that's-
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so let's bring this up in the summertime when he cuts up the other tree. Just pop in and we'll be familiar with the situation and take it from there.
Yeah, but we don't need to. We can just make a motion tonight to allow the cutting of the two trees with the caveat that if one or both are cut after October 31st, we'll have to vote on a seasonal waiver. That way we know about it,
He's covered.
you know.
That sounds like a
Simple.
motion, Mike.
Yeah, all right.
So moved.
But do we need to even, we don't even need to vote on this.
No, we're not.
It's $100.
That's
And if
just
he's-
a caveat, so we
Yeah.
know about it, so he's coming back
Yeah,
in.
he'll
so
talk to
we-
Annie about that.
So if he doesn't do it this summer, I just come back and say, hey, listen, if you decided winter's better, I'll give you $100 and he'll just cut it.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Right,
Problem solved.
all right, so I'll make that motion and close the hearing on 6 Merrimack River Road. All right, so moved and seconded. Any further discussion on that? So you understand, we're allowing both trees to be cut any time that makes sense for the tree removal company, and if it's after November 1st or after that,
After October 31st.
well, if it's after October 31st, it will require a seasonal waiver.
All right,
All right,
Moved and seconded.
Terry,
aye.
Tom,
Aye.
John,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Aye.
Mike, yes, and Fred,
Aye.
okay, unanimous.
Sorry, who seconded that?
I did.
Stephanie.
She was
Okay, thank you.
on it really quickly.
Yep. All right, so you'll get a letter in the mail from us saying, you know, basically what we voted tonight.
Okay,
Thank you for coming.
thank you guys, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much.
Anything else you need from me over from Northern, no, we'll be okay. Okay.
And rhubarb is for everybody, seriously.
Jerry's trying to hawk it.
Okay, next one. 55 Main Street. Siding, siding, siding.
Yep, so, 55 Main Street, from the side of the house there, within 200 feet of that little river there, therefore in jurisdiction. And you can kind of see in the picture, they have rotting siding.
Nice house, huh?
And they would like permission to do so. It's gonna take about 3 weeks. It's gonna be done by hand. The only, it's ladders is all that's
Yeah.
being done. No heavy equipment at all.
1,100 square foot house.
There are horses involved?
Sorry?
Are there horses
There
Out
can
front.
be, if necessary.
Out front. They've got them out front.
Where are we gonna, have them store the removed material? In the,
I anticipate it'll probably be on the deck, just because of the way everything's situated, but we can make
Yeah.
specifications.
I'm just not crazy about stuff blowing into the river. Cause there's probably, in addition to siding, there's probably Tyvek and,
So they're only using ladders, they're not using like a cherry picker or anything like that?
It says select areas. It doesn't even sound like it, is it the whole, like, back side of the house there?
I thought they had said the whole.
It says rot repair
Yeah.
on select areas of the wood shingles.
The folks from Howell Custom Building had come in, and I thought he had said the entire thing, but it might have changed between when he saw me and.
Yeah, because that says minor work.
Yeah.
Yeah, no large equipment or
Yeah.
vehicles will be used in the
I mean,
riverfront.
we can specify where to store.
like a dumpster on the street side.
Yeah,
I think that's a good
I
idea.
mean, I feel better. I mean, stuff blows. It gets windy.
Mhm.
And literally pieces of wood can fly off into the river.
you want to make a motion?
I make a motion that we approve this request to replace the siding with the stipulation that removed siding be stored in dumpsters on the street side of the house to reduce the amount of debris that could possibly get into the river.
Second.
Do you want to add about no major equipment?
No, it
It's in the proposal.
says that, so.
Okay.
Can we amend it to say that there's daily cleanup?
Oh, that's a good point.
That you allow that amendment to your
I will
motion?
allow Tom to make an amendment.
Friendly amendment.
Friendly amendment. Daily cleanup of all debris in the back on the riverside gets put in the dumpster on the street side every night.
Second.
You got that, Annie?
Wait, can you move in second? No, you
Yeah,
can
he's
second
seconding
the
his
amendment.
His amendment.
The friendly amendment, you don't need to.
Okay,
Okay.
Oh,
interesting.
So moved in, you're seconding his motion.
I second it, sure.
Yeah, any further discussion? I just want to make sure Annie's got that
I do.
before we move. All right.
parliamentary procedure.
Any further discussion on it? Okay, Terry,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
John,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Hi.
Mike, yes, and Fred?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. Oh, and, well, I'll make a motion to close the hearing portion of the meeting
Second.
at 7:54.
Second.
Terry,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
John,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Hi.
Mike, yes, Fred,
Aye.
unanimous. All right, so
4
we're
o'clock.
we're moving right along here. All right, so we're back on the other items. So the next one on the list is number 3, which is 833 Salem Street, a discussion regarding a conservation restriction request. So I'll turn it over to Annie to give us an explanation of this.
Sure. So, 833 Salem Street, it is, it's on Salem Street. I'm trying to think of a good way to describe it, but, it's where the cell tower is,
Oh, yeah.
that lot.
Yeah, we know about it. We've been out there, right?
Yes. There aren't any wetlands on it. The conservation restriction would be for natural heritage of endangered species. There's a potential buyer for the project to develop it, and part of the agreement with Natural Heritage is that a portion of the lot would be placed within a conservation restriction. And the potential buyer was wondering if the Conservation Commission would be interested in holding that conservation restriction. He would retain ownership of the land, and we would hold the conservation restriction. I do want to just note that the property is still within the hands of the original owner. So this is more of an informal discussion. It's if this project were to move through and, down the line.
Is the current owner interested or have any interest in a CR being placed on the property?
The current owner? Not that I'm aware.
Okay, so the driving force for the CR is coming from Natural Heritage, I'm presuming.
Yes, if
Right.
the proposed project, if the land gets purchased and the proposed project goes through.
Do we know what the project is?
It would be in storage units. But again, it's all proposed. There's been nothing official.
So what if we say no? Does that mean their project doesn't go through?
No, he'd have to find somebody else to hold the CR.
What does that mean, hold it?
Well, when you put a CR on a property, you retain the ownership of the land, but somebody else enforces the terms of the conservation restriction. So in this case, we don't have any of these right now. We have properties that we own that others have conservation restrictions on, such as over on Center Street, Essex County Greenbelt holds the CR. And what they do is they enforce the terms of the conservation restriction on us. In this case, we would be holding the CR and enforcing the terms of the conservation restriction on the owner.
What do they want for a restriction?
We don't have that yet. They're working on it.
Why are they not looking at it, Essex County, Greenbelt? Oh, I mean, why can't?
They didn't ask them. They asked us to do it.
I can call would you like me to call the,
I'm just thinking if they're holding of other ones, it seems to make sense that that be consistent for them to hold this one too, because it's more their bailiwick to.
They're probably not interested in doing a small 2-acre parcel.
Okay.
It's just 2 acres.
The other thing is that there's a similar request will come from Sewell Street. He's got 10 acres over there that he has preliminarily requested us to hold the CR on that. So they're kind of related because they're close to each other. And it's the same, Blandings turtle protection areas.
And he doesn't want to donate the land to us?
I can
Well,
call him. He just
the
wasn't able
advantage
to.
No, I'm
is
talking about the
Sewell Street.
Sewell Street.
Oh, okay.
The advantage is that they still pay taxes on it, so,
But- Yeah, it's good for the town.
yeah, right.
The enforcement costs.
Oh, yes. There are costs involved.
Yes, and I'm just thinking about that's the double side of this. It's nice to hold them, but you also have to pay for the enforcement of the
Right.
CR.
You
And
have to
that's-
do annual inspections and, communicate with the owners and, so it does, for a 2-acre parcel, it's probably not that big of a deal. When we did the CR that Essex County Greenbelt holds on the two parcels, and actually it's three now, over on Center Street, we paid, I believe, $10,000.
So I think it's premature to do more than just a very superficial
Yeah.
discussion of this
Yeah.
until we know more details about
Right.
the nature of the restriction.
The
So-
question before us tonight is, are we even interested in considering this? We don't even have to take a vote. If we just said, no, we don't want to be doing this, no way. Or, yeah, we would be interested in at least considering it based on looking at the CR document and seeing what will be required of us.
And that 2 acres is near wetlands? I mean, it's not in then
It's next to property that we currently own.
I'm losing interest rapidly.
I think if they would donate it to us, and we could combine, although then there's a tax hit to the town.
Well, it's 2 acres.
Well, if we owned the storage units, we could have a revenue stream.
I just-
don't think you could convince some of that.
I didn't realize, like, when you said $10,000, Mike, I mean, I get it, if there's some paperwork that has to be done once a year, we could probably absorb that cost, but if there's more than that, like, what's the incentive for us?
Well, they can pay us to hold the CR, just like we paid Essex County Greenbelt. The property owner could pay us $1,000, a couple of $1,000, and we could hold it in an escrow account to cover the cost.
If you're doing an enforcement action, that's actually gonna be a lot more expensive. And if you're doing it against them, I mean, $1,000 isn't gonna cover it.
Yes, but they'll be responsible for the fee, for the cost of the enforcement eventually. You know what I mean? If we're enforcing against them, they're gonna have to pay for it eventually.
If they're found
So what,
to
what
be
are
in
you,
violation of it.
Yeah,
what
right.
kind of,
But if they're not, then we end up, hoofing a bill on something that we don't.
what would you
can't
be
recoup.
enforcing?
Well, I'm gonna suggest that we that we keep the door open, but that we table it for today until we know a little bit more about what the circumstances are. Because otherwise, we're just
Killing time.
killing time.
Well, I'll tell you that CRs are pretty standard. If you get on the web and you search for the CR that Essex County Greenbelt holds on the former Mattingly property, say, or the former Angelini properties, you'll see, it's maybe like a 10-page document that basically it lists all the things that they can do and all the things they can't do. And so it will be very similar to that. No building, no disturbance, no filling in, a bunch of other
Be that as it
things.
may, I still think we should just wait till we get a
No, but
little more.
we're not being asked to do it tonight. It's
Right.
just, I would suggest to say that we are interested in it. Like I say, because, I'd rather see us do it than nobody do it.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have to do the same, consider the same thing for the one over on Sewell Street. My concern is that I would prefer to know about what the heck's going on out there, since it abuts our current property,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
okay.
I understand your
So-
concern, and I'm not saying it's not a valid concern. I just wondered that property is not even in our jurisdiction. I mean, that there's nothing on here that's.
Yeah, but that doesn't,
I mean, it's a natural heritage site though with Blanding's turtles.
Then why aren't they doing it?
again, they don't like to do 2-acre things,
right.
bureaucracy and everything else.
I'd say we're not gonna reject their request, but we'd like to hear more.
Yeah.
Okay.
Item 4.
Sorry. Item 4. I was speaking with the current owners of 203 Center Street recently. They have some replication work that they need to do for the culvert crossing that they did, wetland crossing. And we were talking about it, and the fact came up that their order of conditions would be expiring before their timeline for
Replication.
they're going to be able to do the replication within the timeline of the order of condition. It's the monitoring of the wetland replication.
It's gotta be established for a certain amount of time,
Right.
and
Exactly. It
that's
has
gonna
to-
be long after.
The order of conditions. My question, and I would like the commission's opinion, it's simply on whether or not we do what?
Yeah, right, I know.
Yeah.
This is one of those painful decisions.
Whether or not when they file for certificate of compliance,
Oh.
because of the expired order of conditions fee that we charge after a year, whether that's something that would be applicable in this scenario, because because they're required by the order of conditions to continue to do this monitoring, but because
There's no
of the-
further work, there's just monitoring.
Exactly, but they
Okay.
can't file for the certificate until the monitoring is complete.
No,
Why don't they file for an extension?
well, that costs
Pay for
money.
it.
I understand.
Yeah, but
But
do
there
you-
was a time limit, and there's a reason there's a time limit.
No, but I think the solution is, and we've already done this, is they can file for the certificate of compliance, but we will not issue it until we are happy with the place being done, which
I'm gonna have to
includes
call
the
you back. I'm in a
monitoring.
board meeting, okay? Is everything
We did
okay?
this with Maple Lane. We've
Okay,
got
oh,
two
oh,
certificates of compliance that were filed for a year and a half ago, and we still haven't issued them because they haven't finished the work that we requested there. So I think that that could be the valid solution.
But hang on, Mike, so that was gonna be my question, and it sounds like we already have a situation like that. So someone hasn't fulfilled the agreements of the order of condition, and they're required to still do work, yet the permit is expired while we're
Yeah.
asking them to do work.
Yeah,
And
That's a different situation, isn't it?
Well, what I'm leading to is if we do what you say on this one, and then whatever, a year from now, we're like, hang on, you still gotta do work, that's not right, you have to go in and fix it. Are we gonna make them either A, file for an extension then, or B, file a new application? Because they're doing work and they don't have a valid application, or they have an expired application, I should say.
Right. Good
I-
point.
I don't know what the answer is, I'm just bringing it up.
Can we do a preliminary and that retroactively on that other case, that's an actual situation. But on this one, maybe we could say, as of the expiration date, everything looks fine. If something happens that we require that you do extra work, we won't charge anything extra for that. Does that make sense?
either that, or we could have them, if work was required, then they would have to file for an extension.
How much is the extension these days?
Oh, it's expensive.
I
Yeah.
think it's
It's like,
$50 a month.
no, it's
No.
more than that. I think it's at least $100 a month,
Okay.
$200 a month.
So your thought is that if they need to do extra work, that we tell them you're gonna have to get an extension for the extra work and pay for that.
Right, otherwise, they file for the certificate of compliance now, and will issue it when they say they're done with their monitoring.
So, not that we're gonna do it now, but do we need to change the rule then that says that, to specify some of this? Because we give them 3 years theoretically, 3 years to complete the work, yet we require 2 growing seasons.
Right,
Which
so,
means,
I agree, I think we're gonna have to change, I don't know why this hasn't come up before, but we're gonna have to change a line in our orders that address this, that says something about, if work is required after the permit expires due to monitoring or due to some other condition that blah, 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 you know, whatever it is we decide we want in there. But we're back kind of winging it here because we don't have a way to address this.
So our certificate of compliance is only with respect to the work that we've asked them to do. That has the certificate of compliance has nothing to do with the monitoring after the fact. is
Well,
it?
no, it does
No,
because
it's
the
all
orders,
together.
I'm asking the question. I mean,
the
I'm
orders
just,
required the monitoring.
For 2 growing seasons.
so how can we grant them this?
We can until they're done.
Right.
How
But-
does the site look right now? Have we been out there?
They haven't started their replication area yet.
Oh, they haven't even started yet. And when
When
does
does
it,
this expire?
This was more of like this piqued my, oh wait, what do we do in this situation?
Oh, so it hasn't.
Because
You
it
made
hasn't
Mike's
come,
day, right?
yeah, it hasn't come up yet. They haven't done the restoration work yet.
so what's the timeline on this particular project?
I'm pulling it up right now. If you just give me a
So we create problems because we give people orders, and then if, depending on the time of year, they may only start 6 or 8 months later. Then they always do the project first. Then they think about the wetland stuff, and by that time, they're never gonna make the 2 growing seasons.
It's hard to, I mean, I guess we didn't anticipate that, but now we know.
Math.
And the reason we only give them 3 years is because in case conditions change, and that's why they have to apply for an extension in case we could always say no.
Well, if, in this case, you know, again, if they're having to do work, monitoring is a little different because you would assume that they're not gonna do any more work, so really, should they have to pay for an extension, you
Right.
know?
I mean, the only thing you worry about is if there's been like a flood or something that's washed away a replication area that needs to be
Yeah.
fixed up. Which can happen. I mean, that's.
Especially there.
Replication area, you know, those are sensitive areas.
I just don't think it's fair to ask them to do an extension just for monitoring.
Annie, do you have particulars yet, or you're still digging it up?
Oh, it was going to expire in May 21st, 2023, and they were planning on starting their restoration work soon.
Okay, so there'll be 1 growing season, and then the next growing season would just be starting. And so it'd be like 4 or 5 months later, like September, October, that we would go in and do the blessing.
Yeah.
So should we word this differently? Like it should be 2 growing seasons, like for future? 2 growing seasons after work is completed?
That's what it is.
So how can
Well,
you
then
give them a
why is
certificate
this,
of
why does it
compliance?
expire then? I don't understand.
Because they had 3 years to begin with, but they're only starting it this year. Like, they could have started on the replication last summer,
Okay.
and they would have been fine.
Well, then, maybe we should require them to file for an extension.
Because they waited a year.
Maybe we can have a special extension for
But we
monitoring.
don't have that right now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this has not come up with the applicant, so we just, at this point, we're just all getting up to speed.
Yeah, well, we're just kinda, Annie wants to know some guidance
Anticipate.
on it.
Well, you've given us something to think about, Annie, thanks.
Yeah, again, it's not something that's pressing right now. If this is something we want to think about moving forward,
Yeah.
if people want to share comments with me, I can compile them.
It's valid though, because I'm thinking about that, the guy who was going across Strawberry Fields. I mean, he had to wait to do work, because of the turtles, and that has nothing to do with them, but he filed ahead of time, so, but his delay has nothing to do with, he's not just sitting in his hands, he wanted to do it faster, but we can't let him do that. So do we now charge him for doing an extension is the question, because he's doing what he's supposed to be doing? I mean, it's a great question. I just wonder if we should consider the certificate of compliance to be almost like a conditional certificate of compliance with the idea, but I don't know how to do that.
We don't want.
We don't want to do that.
No, I
We
know.
don't want to do that.
No, I get that. I'm just saying,
No,
we
but-
gotta.
and that's why I'm suggesting that we have like an extension that is solely due to monitoring be a, much more.
Instead of $50 a month, have it be
$10 a month, I don't know, $20 a month.
And are people just not aware that these things expire? Like, did they not? Pay attention
I
to the
don't-
fact that there's an expiration.
There's
I don't think
different
they-
circumstances in every project.
I don't think they appreciate the 2 growing seasons thing.
Oh,
I don't think
Yeah.
people plan ahead that,
Yeah, I think it slips people's minds.
In
Right,
the-
right.
in we-
Engineers would have a milestone chart, and they'd say, oh, wait a second, this is here, and this is here, right, Tom?
no, we'd be late, and then we'd get yelled at.
But to Tom's point, if they sat around and waited around a year, that's on them. I mean,
If that's all it is, if they can't start working on replication, for instance, because
What's that?
they're,
Like your turtle guy.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not his
Right.
fault.
Yeah.
That's
I
not
mean,
on
there's
him, but
different
if they just said,
circumstances
okay,
all
we're
the
gonna
time.
get to it, we got our permit, now we just need to, close
I
it.
there needs to be a difference between, the reason we make the extension so painful is we don't want people to ignore us, and the
Right.
reasoning is the conditions could change in 3 years.
right.
So I guess at some point, maybe we need to do something to the bylaw where it's explicit on, you gotta start work by a certain time, you gotta complete the work by a certain time, and then if your monitoring period extends and we pick, maybe we go a 4th year, and if it's only monitoring, we're fine. I'm good with that. My concern would be if they do a really garbage job, or like a hurricane comes through and wipes it out,
they gotta
now they're
start all
doing
over
work again,
Right.
which is what we didn't want people to do in the 4th year, so.
I mean, maybe we weren't explicit enough when we told them the rules.
I don't
Yeah,
think the rules were explicit enough.
well, we can repair it going forward by being more explicit about it, because this only affects replication that requires that kind of monitoring, which is rare. We don't have a lot of replication, event,
period.
permits. So, I think it can be addressed going forward with maybe tweaking what we say in an order. But, maybe we think about adding, we're gonna review our fees, and when we do, think about splitting up the extension thing.
Right, if there's an amendment that is solely due to monitoring,
Right,
then,
maybe it's less.
yeah.
What do we do on Center Street with the horse farm that was over there? Because that one had replication on it, didn't it?
Yeah,
That's
I'm
only,
curious.
that's only been 2 years though, hasn't it, or has it been longer?
no, but they got it, sometimes we don't do it right.
Okay.
Hate to say
Mike, we're
that,
being
but-
recorded.
Like,
No, I mean, let's admit it. In the past, sometimes we have issued certificates of compliance before we should have. And
Oh,
that
because we didn't
probably-
monitor that one long enough?
we always, it comes in when someone comes in with, I'm selling my house, I haven't, and you can imagine what's all said, and then, are we the jerks? Or do we say, well, we go out, we look at it, it's growing, it hasn't been 2 seasons, but it looks pretty well established.
Yeah, but
The way it goes.
again, there's hardly any ones that we do this with.
I wanna say, in the 5th, whatever number of years I've been here, 3 times maybe?
Well,
4 times?
just
that we've had that.
recently, the horse farm in 203 Center Street. Those are the only 2 I know of in the last 5 years.
Sewer project.
Well, yes,
Yeah.
that's more recent, but what
Yeah,
I'm saying
yeah.
is ones that,
In the
Yeah.
past.
And sewer project, we're not gonna charge for anything, are we? That's the town.
right,
So that's easy.
right, that's a moot point there.
No, I was just using it as an example,
Right.
of something that's not the guy's fault. He was trying to do.
Well,
it.
yeah, that's a little different, but similar thing,
I mean, there's
Yeah.
always
I-
an extenuating circumstance.
I think I'd be good with somehow coming up with some, whatever formula, or however we wanna do it, however, we should, maybe 2 or 3 is the only one right now that hasn't started. We should be clear about people at least needing to start it and have 1 growing season before their, orders expire.
So are we gonna change what Annie does when she sends out the letter saying this is what you got and this is when the work has to be done?
Well,
If you-
only when there's replication.
No, I know. I'm just saying it for that specific
Yeah, so
instance. That's-
that's what I mean.
Because
Okay.
there's replication happening
We have
and
to be
there-
more
it requires
careful.
2 seasons of monitoring, please be aware that if you do not start this project this year, you could run
Yeah, something
into
like that.
Yeah, that's a short
Additional,
paragraph.
fees.
well, and extension
Extension fees.
requests, which may
Yes.
not be granted, and, additional fees.
Yeah,
Thanks for bringing it to our attention.
brilliant.
Correspondence with DEP.
No, we're not done yet.
Yeah.
821, Mike.
Annie.
Me?
Yeah,
For the expiration of
yeah.
order of conditions? I have nothing else.
okay, nothing on that one, all right.
No, I mean, like I said, they haven't started yet, so I mean, we don't have to make any decisions regarding it at the moment,
Right.
but,
But
Have
it's
they-
clear that it's gonna be a problem
yes.
or an issue.
Well, you can tell them that they may have to file for an extension.
Okay.
Yeah, I would, when you say, so had they reached out to you that they're starting, or you
They
just
reached
were
out
looking?
about something, about trees being cut down, but they were they didn't have to file with us because it was too far away, but they knew that because they have wetlands on their property, that it was more of a courtesy call.
Right, so what I'm getting at is they may not even start the replication until next spring,
They might not, but they had intentions of getting that done soon.
this year. Okay,
Yeah,
I just-
yeah.
They need to be reminded, but
Yeah.
they're already too late, yeah. We should maybe do that as part of our, in the fall, when we do seasonal restrictions, look through who has replication and what the timeline is, and just sort of do a reminder.
I
Yeah.
think Mike's point is that there's so few of those, it's not, I mean, it's worth doing.
It's where, yeah, we should try and keep
And I guess
track.
because there's so few of them, it's really worth doing.
Forget, but.
All right, okay,
Wow,
moving
this is a good
on
discussion.
to, number 5, correspondence with DEP. So, there's a packet in your list there with the minutes. And so, here's, just in general terms, here's the issue. We really should not be issuing letters from any of us, myself included as chair, without the entire commission preferably taking a vote on it, but certainly being aware of it. So, it comes up mostly as chair, many times in between meetings. Maybe we're asked about something and I can issue a letter on it. I'm not too worried about that. It's more when, say controversial opinions are being expressed. I have tried to avoid it. I have made a point to not give my opinion on things when asked. And I reminded Annie about the same thing, because people come into the office and they want to know about what they should do. And instead of us saying, oh, you should do this, we'll say, well, maybe this, maybe that, but we're going to have to take it to the full commission to really know what the correct thing to do. Right, Annie? About issuing an opinion, a verbal opinion. But when it comes to issuing written opinions, I think that we should try to totally avoid doing that without the whole commission discussing it and sign off coming from a letter by the chair that this was the opinion of the commission. So that means that in this case, Stephanie wrote a letter to DEP on Concom letterhead without that taking place. Now, I'm not saying that she did the wrong thing, because we really haven't discussed this previously. But we want to correct it. So what I want to do is just take a vote to confirm her letter, that it's our opinion that we agree with that letter. So that letter is in this packet. It pertains to some things that were observations regarding 102,
104.
104, sorry, 104 King Street.
Can I recuse myself, please?
Yep, you
Neighbor,
can.
yeah.
I don't,
You're like across
so
the
do I have
street,
to leave
aren't
the
you?
table? I'll just keep my mouth shut?
No.
I'm gonna keep my mouth
No,
shut.
I think the important part was, we sent this letter out, and going forward, we should vote on letters like this.
The letter is perfectly fine. It's just in the future, we should discuss this kind of thing. Like, Stephanie would bring a draft letter to us. We'd look at it, we'd say, yeah, we like that, maybe change this, and then we take a vote to send it. We do the final copy and I sign it.
Why don't we vote on that, as opposed to trying to do something that's already happened? I'm totally fine with that.
Well, should be a policy, that's what we should be doing anyway. I don't think we need to vote on that. It's more, how do we correct this letter?
Retroactive.
Yeah. Or should we
Do
correct it?
why do we need to? That's not, I guess my question is. I mean, I'm not saying I disagree with the opinion in the letter. I'm just saying, is somebody giving us flack and saying that, is someone asking, is this the opinion of the whole commission?
Yes,
Somebody is doing that?
yes.
Who?
We're not gonna go into that. It's too long, confusing. So either we just let it be and say, beside that, we're not gonna do this anymore, or we correct it by either taking a vote to say we all agree with it, and maybe we reissue the letter.
I would like to do what you said about we should vote on it ahead of time, and I think we should also add a line at the end of the letter, something to the effect that this was discussed with the larger commission, and a vote was taken to, something to reiterate the fact that the entire commission is behind the letter and the majority agreed with it.
Yep. Yeah, right, we could reissue the letter exactly like it is, but just put that line.
Well, I'm just saying in moving forward, not specifically about this letter.
Yeah, oh,
You've
yeah.
recused yourself.
Well,
so-
again, we're not gonna run into this situation again, because nobody's gonna do this anymore.
Right. Because you've done stuff in the past where you've done it like that, but when the letter goes out, it just has your name on it.
Yeah.
And I think it would be useful if whoever is getting the letter understood that the entire commission,
Well, but that should go without saying, really. The chair is signing, we don't need, on letters, we don't need everybody to sign it like it's an order of condition. I mean, the orders of condition require everybody to sign them because they're more significant permits, The only permits that only I sign are GRDA under the bylaw, and, they're not really super significant, They're not, nobody's gonna challenge it in the court of law, whereas somebody can challenge our orders of condition.
right?
The GRDAs also do state that, based on the vote of the commission
Yeah.
at whatever meeting.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
That the commission,
But I think Mike's talking more about issues where somebody comes in and says, I have this tree that's leaning over my house. It's 28 feet from the wetlands. Can I cut it down because it's gonna fall down tomorrow? And he doesn't say, come back in 3 weeks when we have our next meeting and show us the pictures of your house with the tree in the middle of it. So there are gonna be some cases where he's going to make decisions on behalf of the whole commission, I think. And I think that's a good thing, because I don't want to be called to an emergency meeting, 3 times a month in between hearings. And there are certain things that are better addressed quickly and sensibly. And I think we want to have that capability.
Yeah, in a case like that, what we'll do is, if I did put a letter like that together, I would bring it to the commission. We would, after the fact, at least talk about it and be aware of it.
Yeah, you entered things into the post facto,
Yeah.
I think is the
Into
term,
the
right, John?
minutes. Right. So, I know that we don't like this, but I would prefer that we deal with this letter. I'll make a motion that we reissue the letter with a statement that says, you know, the letter was discussed at this meeting before the full commission, and we agree with it.
Well, let's agree with it before we say that.
Well, I'll make that motion if somebody wants to second it, and then we can discuss whether we really truly want to vote that way. So is there a second on my motion? Nobody wants to second my motion?
I'll second it.
All right, good. All right, so now, you know, if you haven't read it already, is there anything that we don't think you can't swallow it? Maybe you wouldn't write this letter because you didn't have the experience of knowing these things that Stephanie did, but presuming that Stephanie comes and reports to us this situation, again, we don't know these things firsthand, but we agree with basically what Stephanie is putting forth to the DEP.
I'm not gonna vote for that.
Yeah, I was gonna, I was gonna.
I'm not saying that what
All
you said
right.
was wrong in the slightest, and I'm not disagreeing with it, but I mean, I can't retroactively agree to a bunch of hearsay that I know nothing about and have never even debated. I mean, I think that for me to make that statement is,
No, I
I'm not, I
understand.
can't swallow that.
Yeah.
And
And
I was gonna say the same thing. I was gonna abstain. I wasn't gonna vote against it, but I can't substantiate almost
No.
anything here.
I understand, but this was all in the, I mean, not all, but most of this was in the original, informational packet that was turned over to the DEP. And my concern is that the farm is presenting themselves as an agricultural entity
As
without any
opposed
proof.
to a
Without any proof.
recreational.
Well, they're saying that they're a haying operation, and they're not. And so, just various things in here.
But I think what we can do is we can say we withdraw this letter and we're gonna discuss this at a meeting where we're gonna specifically address each of these things. We may end up at the same result, but I can't endorse something that I haven't actively contemplated.
Mm-hmm.
Do you follow?
Yeah,
It's too much,
Yeah.
too quickly.
yeah.
So, I guess I'm not 100% sure what you want us to do, John.
You're the
So
one
you're
with the
saying-
motion. I'm just telling you, I'm not
No,
gonna. agree
I'll
with it.
withdraw the motion
Okay.
if I know, but I think, my point is, we need a solution. We can't just ignore it.
I guess I have some difficulty knowing what the solution is because I don't know what the problem is. I know that someone
Yep.
is talking about, and you're saying it's an involved, back and forth, and that's fine. I'm just saying that if we're being asked to address this specific letter, I'm not doing that. But if we want to, if we need to address this specific letter, I'm going to say, let's address the issue that is underlying the letter, in which case then we're going to say, look, we are going to, we're going to withdraw the letter as it was submitted, and we're going to discuss that at a meeting, and we will give you our combined thought
I don't know,
process.
how do you mean withdraw the letter? It's already been sent, and I actually already talked to the DEP afterward. We had a,
But that's what I'm saying, is I don't understand why I'm being asked to endorse a letter that it's already been,
Because we have complaints that this letter was issued without us approving it.
voting as a whole.
So,
And it was issued in our name by one
I mean, I sent
commissioner.
it, and I sent it on letterhead,
The letterhead may have been a
But-
mistake.
yeah.
but that being said, though, you're an individual person on the committee, you signed your name. I don't see anything in here that says the commission believes, or et cetera, et cetera. I mean, can't we, as commissioners, can't we contact our DEP rep and talk to them about stuff? Or are
Yeah.
you saying, Mike,
I
that it
mean,
needs
that's
to be?
essentially what I did.
as one voice.
In which case, that's fine.
I mean, it's just that all of everybody's names are on the
The
letterhead.
letterhead comes with an implication that
Right.
we're supporting it.
And,
Well,
Or that the
so,
commission
and-
supports it, maybe not us specifically, but that the commission as a whole supports it.
so how about this, that the letter gets reissued with a statement at the bottom that says, the opinions expressed in this letter do not necessarily represent the full commission.
I would word it
The
differently. I would
concerns.
say it is the opinion of, that implies that other people disagree. I would write it such a way that it's the opinion of Stephanie, or these are her concerns, or something along those lines. Because you write it the other way, it sort of implies that everybody else disagrees.
Well,
May or may not be the case.
And you don't necessarily disagree.
Right.
Right.
We just
I mean,
don't know.
I agree with that.
We don't
I'm
know
not
whether
saying I
we
disagree
agree or
with what you
disagree.
did, or with the statements that, you know, the truth of them, but I just can't.
I wish
Right.
my name wasn't on
Retroactive.
top just because I'm in a butter.
I apologize.
No, but at the same point, like, how do we, so do we,
We would
Like-
have to report a vote, you know, by a 6-1 vote, or, you know, 5-1 with one abstention, or one recusal, or,
something like that?
yeah.
no, but then you're getting into, you might as well put it on a
Exactly.
order of condition thing with
Exactly.
the signatures on
Yeah.
it, you know?
All right, it could just say the opinions in this letter is being reissued with the
Or solely of.
Caveat that,
Or like a,
that the opinions herein,
or the concerns, or,
um,
are these opinions, or are these concerns, or
concerns, well, it's concern,
questions?
How about-
questions.
How about if she reissued the letter on her own letterhead?
Right.
That's fine by me.
On my own
And then
letterhead?
put,
Yeah.
yeah, and then, but then you
Stephanie's
can,
like, "Do
and
I
then you
have
can
letterhead?"
send it, you can certainly send a copy of that to the Conservation Commission. You know, that you're doing it on your own letterhead, but instead just providing us with the information.
Does
You
it even need to
follow?
be letterhead? Can it just be a piece of paper?
Well,
I
whatever.
mean, this was just in response to the DEP issuing their,
Fine schedule.
No, I get that.
right, their $8,000 fine.
so this is no different than a concerned citizen sending the DEP their opinion on a public document. The only issue we have then is that the fact that it has conservation letterhead.
It
that's the
appears
state-
to be endorsed by the commission.
Right.
Right.
Which, again, if we all said, yeah, we agree with this, that, we don't have any problem with that, we could either leave it alone or put that down at the bottom. Or it's only Stephanie's opinion, so we don't want it on our letterhead, because we didn't agree with it necessarily. We didn't disagree,
Yeah,
but we
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
Right, it wasn't,
agree.
it wasn't
was not- It
discussed.
was not discussed. Because right now, you're gonna have one recusal and 2 abstentions.
So, do you like the idea of her reissuing it without our letterhead?
I think that's fine.
That's fine.
That's just a person
Stating your
saying, wait
valid
a second,
opinion.
I read this, it doesn't add up. Here are my reasons. They seem very well thought out. I just don't have the, not liberty, I just don't have the luxury of having to be, you know, be able to compare original documents with what's being said here. And I am just very leery of, but I'm not saying I disagree. I just
I hear you. I
Can't-
know,
can't-
we
can't agree or can't
were
agree.
very excited to mail it off and didn't think it through.
All right, so Stephanie, you're okay with redoing it, just
If
doing it?
that's what you're telling me I should do, of course.
Well, I don't know, it just sounds
Well, what do you
like,
think you should do after hearing our concerns? I mean, we applaud your passion about this.
In your
I just-
research.
Well, I guess I am, you know, if you read the letter, you would understand why. I just, you know, anyway.
No, there seem to be a lot of contradictions and possibly misleading statements, but we just don't know. We don't have the original.
Wouldn't, so I read through this,
Aren't you still recused?
No, I know, I am recused, but I'm saying as a commissioner, when the DEP comments on something, if we, as a commission, have questions about stuff, wouldn't we be asking them also? Now, maybe there's some things in here that seem more, statements as opposed to questions, which I don't know that as a commission, we would know that answer, but I guess what I'm getting at, does she rewrite the letter and only include the questions?
Well, I mean, I've already
That-
talked
that are-
to Libby about every single one of these things in a
Right.
mutual phone conversation.
Right. Well,
Phone
maybe
conversations are great.
we think that we just leave it alone. Don't do anything. It's too late.
Yeah, I guess.
The horse is out of the barn?
Yeah.
As it were.
This is how Terry gets fired.
But no, I'm not sure if I'm being asked to address whether this letter is a good idea or not. That's what I'm saying is, I mean, I don't know. I mean,
Yes, believe me,
I
people do not like this letter. And they complained about it, and somebody who's above us doesn't like it either, okay? So I don't want to go into that too much. I'm just telling you that
I get that. We're trying
We're
to
on
come up with a
shaky
resolution on
ground.
that.
we're on shaky ground with it. And so, but, you know, the further we get away from it, is it that much of an issue? I don't think so, but we don't want it to happen again, obviously. And we already addressed that.
If the letter is issued by an individual, as, you know, restated that it's the individual's questioning, you know, what Libby's done, then that resolves the issue, I would presume.
Yeah, but
Has there been any specific action requested be taken?
no.
No.
Okay.
Okay, then I think that that's a appropriate response to this letter. Is just say, okay, mea culpa, and maybe it shouldn't have been mentioned under the guise of being from the Conservation Commission, but as an individual, valid points.
Yes. You know, I think that we can just go forward. It seems like, when it was initially brought to our attention, it seemed more crucial than it does the further we get away from it. And it doesn't seem like somebody's gonna come and start complaining about it.
Okay,
So-
and in the meantime, you can go to whoever in the town has a problem with this and say the commission has been notified of these situations and we're not gonna do anything on our own under the aegis of the
Yeah.
of the entire commission.
Are we going to be accused of passive endorsement then?
I don't know, maybe.
No, but we don't really know you know, the horse is out of the barn already. So, I mean, there's nothing we can really do substantially to correct it. It's already happened. So we got slapped on the wrist. We don't do it no more. We acknowledge we will not be doing it anymore,
Fine.
right?
That
Okay,
sounds-
we've made that point.
Is
Yeah.
that adequate?
Yeah, I think that maybe is the best way to go. Because I think it's too.
We discussed it, we're gonna move on and not do it again.
Yeah,
You're gonna
and
talk to-
I don't think it's.
You're gonna talk to the town and tell them that we haven't just ignored.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I will do that. I mean, you know, this is on me mostly because I'm the chair. I shouldn't be allowing this to go on. So I have to correct that with someone who brought it to our attention. But, you know, as far as trying to correct it, I think you've made the point that it's kind of too difficult to kind of
To
redo
navigate
it.
that.
Yeah.
I don't want to push it up to a bigger issue than it already is. That's my
Yeah,
point. So,
right.
and if we have to require you to retract the letter, that, if we can get away without doing that, I'm
Right.
totally fine with that.
Right, right. I think you're right, you know, just let it go now.
If it does go to another level, we're gonna have to
Yeah.
then maybe do that, but if for now, I'm fine with
It
it.
doesn't
Okay.
seem to be going in that direction.
Okay, great.
All right,
So I just want to ask, Annie has her her ears out. Do you think that that will
Can I?
suffice?
I
Yeah.
think so.
Okay, great. Okay. I'm not disagreeing with you.
I feel like there's a whole nother story here that I know.
there's
Don't.
Okay.
And I
so-
just feel bad that I
No,
didn't
don't worry about it,
foresee
whatever.
this.
Okay, it's
I
okay.
mean-
No,
No,
that's
don't
okay.
worry about it.
No, it's not what I
I
meant.
do,
I
I
did-
have done it myself, so.
You should see the stuff he writes.
we're being recorded.
Okay,
Um,
that's fine. We're
BZ Park,
All right,
That's not next.
Yeah, it is corresponds with DEP. We're done with that.
number 6. If you recall last time, this is the Washington Street parking.
Oh, I printed out the wrong one for myself.
Uh,
Don't mind me. Sorry.
This isn't the snow.
Yeah, this is
The
the,
BZ Park thing.
if you remember last time I
Yeah,
talked about this issue, and I'm trying to find my paper.
pushing everybody to go park up in the
Yes,
parking
yes.
lot at
So-
the top.
So the potential solutions were to designate a no parking area, put up signs, go through the selectmen, put up a fence along the roadway
Everyone
edge,
snows down
No,
the
I
hill,
know,
they'll
I'm-
park
I-
up.
Yep.
do nothing, put boulders along the roadway edge in, with the assistance of the Groveland Highway Department, and put hay bales in the wintertime so nobody breaks their heads, or some combination thereof. So those were the things that I suggested, so I asked
did
everybody
anybody
to
talk to
think about it.
GroPo about what they would recommend?
Talk to who?
GroPo, Groveland Police,
Please.
I don't think they really care.
they're fine, it's not a safety issue.
It doesn't seem to be, but, that would be, they would say, well, whatever the selectmen, if the selectmen designate it as a no parking zone, then we will enforce it.
Well, of course, yeah.
So, I don't think we should do no parking, because that's gonna make everybody hate us.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I would
Just a-
even, go ahead.
Just if they park in the designated parking lot, because the problem is, they're going to people's houses and asking to use the
Yeah.
bathroom.
I know, it's
Well, but that's a whole different issue.
Not when they're parked all along that road.
So, I drive by there every single day going to work, and in the winter, and I do the whole, oh my gosh, there's tons of cars and kids, and someone's gonna run out and I'm gonna plow them over, so I'm super careful. I would argue we should put some parking down there, because people are always gonna take the least, they're gonna do whatever.
Resistance.
It forces them to use the least amount of effort to, we wanna go play on the hill, whether we're sledding or that group that goes twice a week and does exercises. They're not gonna park up the hill and walk down.
Yeah, but we can't.
But
Are the bathrooms at VZ Park accessible to?
No.
Okay, so you can't use that as a lure,
Right.
to get them to park where they should be parking.
We can't make parking along Washington Street because our CR on the property held by DCR won't allow that.
it was, we could only have the parking that was there originally, and we can
Yeah,
never
we
add to it.
can't really, start cutting into the,
Add impervious.
Can we put up signs that says, please don't, there's no parking down here, please park up at the lot that's
yeah,
free?
we could do that, but.
I mean, just being blunt, but that may be, I don't know how much
that's
effective
gonna
it'll be, but that, at least we can at least make the statement that we're trying to direct people
I mean,
to park at the top of the hill.
My solution of the boulders or a fence would prevent people from parking on the grass, which I'm more concerned about than just the parking on the street. I think the parking on the street drives me crazy, because, I go by there when I go down the end of my street all the time, but, if, it's like, it's like, I don't know, but at
Well,
least
that-
we would prevent the people from driving up the hill or
right, that's what he
parking on
said
the
last time
grass.
too. Somebody
and-
drove up the hill.
Well, are you talking about not letting them, having them physically park on the street, not even by the side of the street?
No,
So you're just talking about limiting where they can take a vehicle?
yeah, right,
Okay, I like that plan a lot.
I like
And
that,
we have,
yeah.
I know where there's a lot of rocks.
yeah, we know that, right? We all know where those rocks are.
Yes, we do.
So it would just be a matter of
Getting somebody to
getting
pick up
Rennie
those
to
big rocks.
bring them. In June, the highway department runs out of money and they don't have a lot to do. Sometimes, I'm not saying that that's what it is, but Rennie is more open to doing things like this in June rather
it.
than,
I still think you should put up the signs, though, to direct people that we're
I
not
know,
just
that's-
stopping them here, but
Well,
we're telling you, go
We want
park
you
over
to
there.
sled here, but please park over around the corner.
Can you say like paved parking available up the hill?
yeah, paid parking.
No, paved.
Paved? No, I like
But I like
paid
paid, I
parking.
like paid also.
Buck piece.
I like paid also. I'll be up there collecting.
The parking issue on the street is really up to the selectmen, so we would have to go to the selectmen and say, we've got a problem, it's a safety issue, you know, have a discussion, obviously, again, with the chief to maybe have him there to help us and say, we recommend that the town put up no parking signs from, you know, whatever the house next door is down to 199. But, you know, that's a big ask.
But I think if you told them, this is where you can park, it's just
Yes.
fine, that's the whole point
Please
of it.
please park around the corner. Because it's at the top of the hill anyway, right? Or
I think
ish.
that starting at the top or finishing, or starting at the bottom is a net zero, but that's not how it gets perceived.
So let me go back. So we all like the idea of putting boulders there.
I'm fine with that as long as it's really clear in the wintertime that nobody's gonna drive thinking it's snow and smash their car. Like, if the boulders are big enough, or if we do like boulders in a fence or something.
No, well, we don't have money to do a fence, but yeah, they're big. You know, they're
Okay.
gonna be large.
There's plenty of big ones.
And will we still, is the intent to leave like maybe 3 feet off the road in case someone
Yeah.
has a flat tire that they can pull over a
Oh,
little bit
yeah.
and change their tire?
No, this is not right up to the edge of the road. There's gravel like about 5 feet.
Right.
in.
Right.
So,
What you want to
yeah.
do is keep them from getting up encroaching on the hillside.
Right,
I fully support that.
all right,
I
so,
think you're gonna still have people shoving their cars in there in that 5 foot gravel
And they
area.
already put signs over there that say no parking by those houses.
Right, and I don't think they park there, do they?
well,
But,
They-
so, I mean, not to be mean, but then those people should call the police. Because if people are coming up to the house asking for a bathroom and parking on their lawns and blocking their driveways, that's a police issue.
it's ridiculous, really. But, you know, the people, they love to sled so much, you know, I mean, my own grandkids go there, so, you know,
It's a great hill.
they love the place. So it's really,
It's an attractive nuisance.
Then the town should put a porta potty there from December through March or whatever, I don't know, you know? I mean,
yeah,
That's
well,
a town
nobody's
issue.
complaining about the bathrooms. And nobody's complaining, except the residents are complaining about the parking problem. Anyone else, they don't care, they're just parking wherever they can.
right, so here's what's gonna happen though, we do this, and if there's fewer cars there, that means it's gonna bother the residents more, and then it's gonna require the police to tell people you can't park on people's land and stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't think I think it's reasonable to we leave that gravel area, but that we just don't want them parking up near the tables and in between the trees and whatnot.
Well,
Okay, yeah.
so what we can do is, see, I don't want to do this without talking to the selectmen, believe me, because that's the last thing we want to do. But if we pursue the boulders as our first step, and we tell them this is what we're going to do, and we just want to mention to you that parking is a safety problem there. We don't know what the solution is, but maybe you should think about designating a no parking zone or something, whatever you want to do. But what we are going to do is prevent people from driving onto VZ Park where they shouldn't be by putting boulders there. And we just wanted to let you know that. We don't need their permission to do that. We can do it on our own.
All right, let's do
Okay.
that then. Thank you,
Sound all
Mike.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you need a motion?
Yeah, we can take a motion to place boulders at the bottom of the hill. there.
So moved.
Are we gonna need to arrange for hay bales and stuff?
Yeah,
Because
well, we'll do that through VZ Park.
we stopped doing that for a couple of years. didn't
Yeah,
we?
because they take them and they make jumps out of them.
Gotta stake them.
So, again, why is the town not taking care of that?
Yeah, because they don't.
Yeah, I just, you know.
All right, I'll second your motion. So, any further discussion on putting boulders, having the highway department put existing town boulders on the bottom of the VZ property at Washington Street?
Hearing none.
All right, Terry,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
John,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Aye.
Fred,
Aye.
Mike, yes, unanimous.
All right.
All right,
Annie, what's
Next.
going on?
next.
Brief.
Hey.
You're welcome. Moving offices is happening sooner rather than later. The shredding company is coming on May 26th. So we have a deadline. If anyone would like to assist me in going through our files, let me know. Stephanie did. We had a great time.
I'll do
Is it-
another day.
Just files or also plot plans and stuff?
Plot plans too. We keep them together. So most of it is just throwing away duplicates. Some files have 8 copies of the same order of conditions.
Right.
We only need to retain 1 set of plans, things like that, just to reduce the volume because we have 8 filing cabinets right now. And that is, we can't even fit them all in the office, and I'm not getting a bigger one. So and also just a reorganization of them, you know. So that's happening soon. I did send out the seasonal waiver reminder, and I got half back, which I'm pretty happy about. I only sent them out about 2 weeks ago. So it's only been about or maybe 3 weeks ago now. And so they probably got there a few days later. So it's only been about 2 weeks. So I got half back, which was really nice. Then 2 other things.
Are you thinking about sending another one with an estimate? Or
I-
just send a bill and say, pay us?
I don't know if we can send bills, Mike.
Say that again.
Like,
Maybe
send
send
an-
a
send
letter
an
and say,
invoice?
please send us a check for, and whatever we estimated for.
Oh, I
How
understand.
many
Yeah, just
days?
A letter, yeah.
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 I was definitely going to send
No,
another.
I didn't mean an invoice. I don't think we're
Okay, I was-
invoice compliant.
I don't
but
think so either.
But I would say a letter saying, please send a check
This will be
to-
your second notice
Yeah.
type thing. Yeah, I agree. And then the only 2 other things, you'll receive another email from me tomorrow, sorry in advance, because we have another comprehensive plan meeting workshop tomorrow. We only had 5 people show up last night, and 3 of them were, Mike was there because he's on the master plan steering committee, Jason Naves was as well. And then there were only 3 others, and I nagged one of them to come. So
I think I can come tomorrow night.
thank you. So there's,
Tell your friends and neighbors.
yes,
Well.
please tell everyone.
Which district or whatever is tomorrow's?
Tomorrow is going to be Bagnell School, and then Route 97 to the Georgetown
Perfect.
line. Saturday, we also have one. It begins at 10, and that is discussing like Washington Street, VZ Hall, and the 150 Center Street, Strawberry Fields area.
What kind of time commitment? Is it like 2 hours?
An hour and a half.
And it starts at 10 on Saturday?
Starts at 10 on Saturday.
That one too,
That's
probably.
that's a super bad time. Just, anybody who has kids who's doing any kind of sports isn't coming in.
It is true. Yeah, it's tough because sometimes if you put it at 8 when everyone's home, that's so late. People don't want to leave then. I don't know. I think we have a really great consulting team working with us, helping us on it. And I speaking for myself, I thought the meeting last night went great. Even with a few people, we learned a lot. So that's my,
Last night was Elm Park?
last night was Elm Park. Yep.
I missed that.
So-
I live right there. It worked.
Can you send out a schedule of all the upcoming dates?
Yeah.
And I apologize if you already have, and
Don't
I
worry about it.
ignored it.
I can do
Have
that
you?
again.
Because I can search.
That's okay.
You
I'll,
did not, so now I'm gonna search.
No, don't, because what if I didn't? So anyway, that's my spiel on that. You'll be getting another email, so don't worry about it. If you forget tonight, I'll send you an email tomorrow. And then the only other spiel I have is about the Keep Groveland Clean and Green spring cleanup.
Like 2 days to do that.
No, it's been extended I convinced the party involved who wanted to do this,
Little arm
meaning
twisting.
my wife, to extend it to May 22nd. So it's got
Okay,
an
good.
extra week.
Yes.
That's all I got for this time of the night.
Paul's meetings, upcoming projects.
Nothing crazy. It's been really slow. Yeah. So,
Did anybody see a recent post on Facebook about knotweed? And I guess I just wanted to bring up what? Yes.
For
yes,
after
talk
the
or don't
meeting
talk?
or during the
No,
meeting?
no,
I just-
good.
I
just
was wondering
remembered.
about, and I think I've talked to West Newbury about trying to get a citizen army together before, but I think we need a comprehensive plan about something, especially Japanese knotweed, and I want to know what other people think.
Blow torches. Give everybody blow
That
torches.
doesn't work, so
Tell 'em-
like,
But
you
you
know,
gotta do it over and over again.
UMass Amherst has the best plan, but I don't know how you enact their plan next to waterways, for example. So
What's their plan? Glyphosate?
it's cut in the spring, cut in the summer around July, and then in the fall, when the knotweed is dying back, much like bittersweet, you're supposed to cut it again. No, not cut it, spray it in the fall. Because the first two cuts, you keep it short and you
You're not allowed to pollinate. quite as
affect
well.
its energy. And then the third, when you spray it, that's when it sucks the glyphosate back into its roots, just
Yeah.
like bittersweet.
I just cut it back about every 2 weeks.
I know, but
Gonna talk
yes.
about it.
So I guess long term.
But that's because I've got a relatively small area.
So I
been
think though
digging
that
it
we
up
need to
every
come
year.
up with some sort of plan, and since I know that research that happened at Amherst, that is the plan that everybody goes with, but like I'm not,
Does that even kill it, or is it just
it takes 3 years.
cut it back a little bit?
No, it takes 3 years and then it's,
Wow.
but, so this is my point though, is it's really starting to take over the town.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess I want to know, like, is it actually, this would be a good time, like I wouldn't mind sending out, like, coming up with a letter, I can see what you guys think about the letter or whatever, and send it out to towns. I know, there are some particularly rough spots that maybe we could ask towns what their plan is. Like, do you guys have, like, is the state gonna help us eradicate this? Because it's a pretty significant problem.
You need a critter, is what you need.
I think that's reasonable.
Okay.
I would say if we have a good plan, I mean, I didn't realize UMass Amherst had a way to get rid of
They're
it.
the ones doing the best research out there.
We should frankly put it on the town website.
Well, so my fear is that if somebody lives next to a pond or something like that, and they just, because there are two different kinds of glyphosate, one that is safe to use around water and one that's supposedly safe to use around water and one that's not. And I'm not an expert enough to be the person to advise
How are there
somebody.
two different kinds of glyphosate?
It's one that's safer to use around water. I know, this is Mike's very same concern. So that's what I mean, is I don't want to be the person to be like, oh, sure, you can do this.
No, but I think your point is, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, if maybe we can get some more details from UMass Amherst, then we just put their
Yes.
their recommendations on it. I think
Yes.
it's a very worthwhile thing to put on the town website, assuming the information we give them is accurate and,
Okay.
you know,
And I'd really like to find out what places like Concord, like there are some places that have some pretty significant stands also.
I think you should start with the general statement that, as you said, cut twice and then put the glyphosate on is at the end of the year. If you put that up there, that's more information than I already know about getting rid of knotweed. But then you also have to put as a caveat to that, say, if you happen to be in a wetlands, you need to, there's specific requirements for doing that. And here's a link.
Knotweed loves wetlands.
Right.
Yeah. But I'm
right.
just saying that you gotta start with keeping things simple and stupid for people is the best thing. People say, this is how I get rid of knotweed, that's great, and then but you also gotta say, look, you can't do this near wetlands for that reason.
Okay.
But I agree, I like your idea.
All right. I will get the definitive research from UMass Amherst and maybe talk to a couple of other entities. 'Cause I know
Yeah, you
there's
can, you
a
could
biologist who
call
works in,
either that or call some other commissions and see.
that's what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I wanna do, is find out what other people are
Call-
doing.
Yeah, and
I don't know if we
call-
need to vote on this, but I think the commission endorses your
Okay,
initiative.
I
okay,
agree.
okay,
it,
noted.
so if you call some towns that have like full-time,
Given that it's not
commission
weeds in
staff,
every
you know.
town.
Yeah, I think you can pretty much
someplace like Concord or.
throw a
Lawrence.
dart at a map and whatever
Higher.
town you hit will
If not weed.
have not weed.
So
Um,
obviously no one's working.
So, are we done with, calls, meetings, and upcoming projects? Any other things like that before we move on to open discussion? Cause I have a few things with that before we close out.
Fire away.
106 King had their pre-construction meeting today.
Okay, yeah.
That's all. It went well.
Great.
So also related to 106 King, Annie and I met with Damon Burt, the wetland scientist for the project, and we reiterated what we were looking for invasive management plan. Very apropos topic here, since we're talking about that. And I think we worked out with him what we're looking for in the scope of it, because the owner of the property was very upset when he realized it, because he didn't read the orders until after the appeal period expired. So, you know, they're behind. They were supposed to give us a invasive management plan before they started work within 60 days or something, and it's long past that time. So they're working on it now, so that's good. So I think everything got smoothed over. Annie and I smoothed it over with the both of them, and they were not ready to strangle us, or me.
good to know.
104 King, we also met with him regarding the filing. If you remember, we decided to ask them to file a GANRAD and a GNOI matching and permitting the work under the bylaw that is being ordered by DEP. So we talked about what that really meant, and I think we've got that straightened out too. So we should be getting a GANRAD filing from 104 King Street first, soon, probably by June at the latest for July. And then once we accept that and issue our agreement with it, then they'll be filing a GNOI with us for the work again that DEP is requiring. And a lot of that will be post some of their work, because they're on a pretty tight schedule with DEP. So they may have already done all that DEP requires before we're even addressing it. But that's the best I think we're gonna be able to do. The main thing is, we wanna make sure that, to be fair with them, to be fair to other people, that they are required to file what normally they would have had to file because, with DEP. We're not letting somebody just say, okay, yeah, you do your DEP filing and we don't care about the bylaw, because it's not fair. We wouldn't do that with anybody else. And the last one I've got is 38 Benjamin Street. I got a call from Dina DeHulu today regarding the knotweed, if you recall, in the sedimentation pond. She reported to me that the knotweed had already grown up about 2 feet.
About right.
Weird.
And Steve was out there chopping it down again. And she wanted to know what he should do. So, I think if we can get the UMass advice, and I told her to hold off on glyphosate right
Not the
now.
right time of year, yeah.
Yeah, don't do anything with it, because some of that's in the buffer zone
Right,
too.
right, it's right next to the,
So, I told her to hold off, don't do any spraying, nothing, just cutting it is fine, but that's probably not gonna be the ultimate solution either. So
Stephanie, if you could send me this safe and not safe glyphosate information,
yeah,
just a link to something, because
I'll find it.
I have a nice patch I could experiment.
I know, it's a real bummer, isn't it, when you,
well, I mean, glyphosate itself, I mean, forget about all the cancer claims, turns into pretty benign transformation products.
Mm.
Compared, it was seen as a much better non-persistent solution.
no,
Um,
I know, but I do have a friend who ended up with lymphoma from it also, so,
from it.
yeah. There's a class action suit.
I know there's a class
Yeah.
action suit.
Yeah,
Monsanto used to be one of my customers.
yeah, I know, it's a bummer, it's a real bummer, so I just wanna make sure we're doing the right thing. I don't wanna be the one to make the call, but I can definitely, there are two, yes, I will send you the information that I have.
Thank you.
So if you can get that, send us all that UMass advice stuff, Stephanie.
yep,
And then
yep.
I'm gonna get that over to Dina, and Annie and I will try to figure out what our next step is. I think we gotta go out and take a look at it, see what he did and everything. I mean, we were very doubtful of what they proposed before.
I will say one of the benefits of me being town planner is that I get TEC's monitoring reports, and the detention pond is not functioning as it should from an engineering standpoint. So TEC has been also telling them that they need to fix the knotweed because the drainage, the stormwater management systems aren't working the way they need to. So we're not alone.
So they
Good.
may have to redo it. They might have to rebuild it.
Potentially. I don't know. I haven't read what TEC's recommendations are, but I can and I have access to them. I just haven't read them yet.
That's interesting.
So, next meeting, June 8th?
June 8th, and we'll continue to meet in person, and I will allow us to join by Zoom like Fred's doing tonight, as long as we can.
Move to adjourn.
I second that.
All right?
Aye.
Terry, Tom,
Aye.
John,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Hi.
Fred,
Aye.
Mike, yes, unanimous, okay? Meeting adjourned at 9:13.
And cut.
Could have been
That's really cool.
7:59, Mike. Could have been.
And this rhubarb is not going home with
No, I
me.
definitely want
I have
one,
my
thank
own
you.
little